The one thing you should know about the sod busters, the sod houses, is that they were really permeable. Snakes came through the roof, mice burrowed in the walls. When it rained, water dripped down your neck. And I heard stories of pioneer women who would be cooking, making stew over the stove and holding an umbrella over their head. So this is from a little song called "Starving to Death on a Government Claim." And this is written from experience, you have to know. How happy I am as I crawl into bed, the rattlesnakes rattling a tune in my head, while the gay little centipede, so void of all fear, crawls over my neck and into my ear. And the gay little bedbug, so cheerful and bright, he keeps me a-going 2/3 of the night. And since I wrote this book for children, I love to put in quotes of things about people's childhood. And one woman who had come to Custer County in 1884 wrote in her memoir, and she wrote this when she was an old woman, "One of the vivid recollections of my childhood is of those pioneer days, dewy summer mornings, millions of prairie flowers everywhere, frogs croaking, prairie chickens booming, and ducks quacking in that their own country." And one pioneer, one such person, is a man named Jules Homont. And this is what he looked back on his youth, and this is what he wrote. Actually, this is from a lecture or a talk that he gave to some people about the old pioneer days. And he wrote, "We came here to this beautiful country in those early days, young, strong, healthy, filled with hope, energy, and ambition. Poor, it is true, oh, how poor in worldly goods, but rich beyond dreams in everything that makes life worthwhile. I do not know how large a bank account some of the old settlers may have today. I do not care. They will never be as rich as I felt when I first settled on my homestead. I remember the time I did not have the money to buy a postage stamp. I remember the hard winter, the drought of 1894, the many obstacles to overcome. We came to win the battle, and we did." I should mention about Solomon, the photographer who took 3,000 pictures of his friends and neighbors, the sod busters. He hated farming, and everyone thought he was really lazy, and because he had a camera and a wagon and a horse, and he put the camera in a little darkroom in the back of his wagon. He kind of rigged up a little covered area and with a darkroom. And he just traveled all over Custer County and Nebraska and pretty much, and some of the other plain states, but pretty much stayed in Nebraska for most of his work, photographing the pioneers. And as I said in the beginning, people thought he was an oddball and a little bit nutty because why wasn't he farming like everyone else? They thought he was lazy and he just couldn't stand the work, but this was his work and it was his dream. And he, in fact, he amassed a collection of more than 3,000 amazing photographs, and they are just beautiful. And so he was the one who created the best, the most extensive record of the sodbuster era ever. And so he photographed really a whole period of history. And I'll tell you, one of the joys and the hard things about this book was that I had so many pictures to choose from, and that was tough to actually narrow it down. I have 62 photographs in this, and I could have, gone a lot higher. Well, people will ask me, what's your book about? And I'll say Solomon Butcher. Pretty much I find that people don't know his name, but then I say, well, do you know the picture of the cow on the roof? It's a very famous picture, and people say, oh yeah, and people know that, but they don't know his name. So it was, a really fun opportunity to get to kind of introduce him, and especially to young people. Solomon had a great sense of humor. So his pictures range from, beautiful sweeping, there's always the sweep of the land in the background. But he liked to take little quirky pictures too, and they're funny, and each of his pictures tells you a lot. It tells you because you can see the house in the background. The family is usually standing in front. There are always a couple of dogs. The horses, they wanted to show off their possessions to the relatives back home because they're, you know, they didn't have Instagram, and so, you know, there were horses and cows in the fields in the back, and it was just, there's any number of variations of what he took.